Greetings, mortals! Once again, it is I, Coretta Singer, coming at you with another video. Yes, I haven't completely abandoned this project. It is still in the works. And to be honest, in real life, it is way further forward than it is in this video. I've just had this footage sitting on my computer and I've not really touched it for a while because I have been actually working on the project. And that ends up being kind of the problem when you're doing things like this. It's like, yes, I have the actual project to do, and then editing it is a whole entire, beast of its own that I have to wrangle. So I end up, prioritizing working on the actual project and leaving the edit behind. So that being said, without any further ado, let's get into it. So for the next two videos, including this one, this will be the part one. It's basically me blocking out the basic shapes of the individual components that make up the armor of this dude. And here you can see me putting in like the first base thing. I'm bringing up a lot of references and just trying to make sure that it all like fits in. You can see me working on this piece. I'm trying to get the topology to work just right, because you can see it's a little bit warpy there, so now I'm trying to smooth it out. I'm making some minor micro adjustments. I'm putting a crease down the center because I want that to have a sharp line, which is kind of weird because I think in the final piece that's not even going to show. Here I am doing, I dropped in a sphere and I'm basically just extracting a segment of it that I can use to do the pieces around the neck, or probably what would be called in the armor world a gorget, or gorget. I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's a gorget. I might be pronouncing it wrong because I think most armor pieces are actually French, so it might be gorget. And here I am just trying to get the basic shape out that I can use to then extract the three individual pieces. So you can see that I've just put like these edge loops around, and I'm going to polygroup each of those edge loops and make them a separate piece. So here I am just kind of duplicating the piece and then deleting the parts that I don't need. And then I end up with three separate pieces, which I'm now renaming, which is also a nice thing to do. Rename your pieces, especially when you have a project like this with multiple pieces. Rename your pieces so you can find them easier. So you can see me here like just offsetting each of these, putting them into place. I'm leaving enough of a gap so that when I eventually go to extrude them, you still have that little bit of an overlap. So it looks like one goes under the other. Now here you see me drawing out a shape for another piece. I'm basically using that one big dynamish shape as the base of this that I can kind of extract other shapes out of. So I'm trying to mask in the shape that I want. And once that's good, I'm going to go ahead and extract that. And when you extract it, the topology is really awful, and I'm using the Z remesher here to try and make as few polygons as possible so that it's easier to adjust. And that's one of the rules of thumb. Try to work with a piece that has as few polygons as possible. It's easier to move less polygons at a time. If you have too much polygons, it's going to be really untidy and you won't get like smooth transitions between the different polygon components. So here I am just kind of going in and using every single angle to really give this an interesting profile. And this is what I like about doing hard surface shapes inside of ZBrush versus Maya. I can really get some interesting shapes very quickly rather than in Maya where I have to be kind of pulling one polygon at a time. Now I'm going to be extracting that front chest plate. And I did the same thing like the previous piece. I just went and masked it out, and I'm going to extract it in a bit. There we go. same thing, very high polygon count, and I'm gonna use the Z remesher now and kind of pull down the poly count. And you can see me do something very interesting here. I didn't like the shape of that. The chest plate actually is a bit more geometric in shape in my sketch, and I figured it would make more sense to start from something that is way simpler than the extracted piece that I just had. So I used a square instead. I just left one of the faces, and I'm using that to kind of make this particular shape. And see what I mean? Very few polygons, but you've already gotten that basic shape, and once that's there, that's half the battle. Now I'm just kind of trying to move everything in relation to each other, because one of the things that I would like to do eventually is maybe 3D print this, and I want the pieces to kind of overlap properly. I don't know if I'm ever going to 3D print this, to be honest with you. It might be way too expensive to print, but you know, just in case the opportunity comes up, I would like to know that it is possible to do. Now you see me working on another piece here, simple cylinder shape. I just deleted the flat sides, left the ring around the edges, and I'm just kind of shaping that, duplicating it, positioning it, rotating it, duplicating it again. And then I have those 3 rings under the arm. And now I'm just adjusting them around each other. Just kind of trying to see how everything functions with each other. One of the things that really drives me crazy is that when I'm making like mechanical stuff like this, I want to feel like it actually works, like it makes sense. And here again, I'm using another simple shape to create a more complex one. Just moving that into place so I can create that one shape on the bottom. And I want it to interact with that first shape that I created and kind of meet up very nicely. And then I'm going back to this shape and kind of adjusting it around the other shapes that I've created. Here I'm redoing part of the topology of this. It was kind of messy right there. I didn't like it, so I just went in and tried to rework it. It's a little bit hard doing topology inside of ZBrush, so I have to kind of be smart about it and try and figure out how to cut things. So here you see me kind of trying to think about, well, what's the best way to go here? I'm adjusting things, and then I figured, hey, I put in this edge loop and boom, I can put in a quad. And now I'm making another poly group that I'm now going to extract and use to make another detail on this piece. Many times you see some of these projects that people put together, and they have so many parts and pieces, and you think, oh God, that's really complicated and I could never do something like that. But again, break it down to its basic components and then work from there. You know, once you have your basic shapes, then you can go in and then you can refine and put in more detail, and then you can put more detail on the detail and more detail on the detail. And that's the best way to kind of work on it. If you look at it as a whole, you're gonna get overwhelmed and you're gonna frustrate yourself eventually. So here I am working on this extruded piece. And there we have it. Once again, I'm going back to the gorget. And I'm just adjusting parts of it to give it a little bit of this detail, so it doesn't just look like this flat, boring piece. I'm adjusting part of it, and there you go. And now I'm going back to this chest piece, duplicating it, extracting part of it so I can create this weird chevron shape. So I know I had this in the sketch, But I also decided that I like this little chevron bit so much that I'm going to do the same thing with the gorget area and create these little individual chevrons for each ring. Okie dokie, we are going to call it there for now. It seems like an abrupt cut because it is, but it was a lot of footage, like I said, to go through, and I figured let me just cut them into little manageable chunks so you don't get bored watching me just push and pull a whole bunch of stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Blech. God, it sounds awful and sounds weird for me to say that because I sound like a YouTuber now. But you know, the YouTube algorithm or whatever the hell seems to like that. So yeah, do that so I can become rich and famous and stuff. Cries. But thanks for sticking around. I will see you in the next episode. So peace.